Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another explainer. Today, we're taking some pretty complex realities and breaking them down into clear visual steps. We're tackling something that hits close to home for pretty much all of us, our wallets. Or, more specifically, the stories we tell ourselves about them. Here's the absolute core concept we're unpacking today. You simply cannot fix your finances until you're willing to face the hard truth. I mean, we don't do it on purpose, but we constantly lie to ourselves about our spending habits. So get ready to confront those money lies, because we're going to look at the undeniable evidence and show you exactly how to take back control. To get started, let's just look at this hilarious, but honestly kind of tragic disconnect between our mental spending and our actual bank statements. Like, if I asked you right now, hey, do you eat out a lot? Your immediate gut response might be a totally genuine, nope, not really. But if you've got revolving credit card debt or, zero savings, reality is probably suggesting otherwise. Let's look at what a single monthly bank statement actually looks like for a lot of folks, right? There's the $7 for the daily Starbucks run, because you literally couldn't start the day without a venti caramel macchiato. Then, oh look, $47 for Taco Tuesday, $120 on coworker lunches, multiple Uber Eats deliveries, even though, let's be real, your fridge was totally stocked, and hundreds of dollars on Friday happy hour drinks because, well, you felt you deserved it after a long week. This gap between our perception and reality, that is exactly what keeps us broke.
Section 1. The Financial Amnesia Epidemic. Okay, let's dive right into this. We really need to understand why this happens. And I want to assure you right off the bat, this financial disconnect, it isn't malicious. You aren't purposefully trying to sabotage your future. It's actually a psychological blind spot, and we call it financial amnesia. This happens when you, totally unintentionally, misrepresent your spending habits, and you just naively believe your own internal narratives about where your money goes. And that amnesia? It only breaks when you are finally confronted with the undeniable, black and white evidence in your bank statements. We see this all the time when people analyze their budgets. Think about it. If someone asks you if you have a budget, you might give this sort of hesitant, yeah, sure. But usually, that brief silence, that hesitation, it means the reality is quite different. The truth is, so many people who are actively trying to pay off debt don't actually have a budget. But without one, you're suffering from financial amnesia, which means you literally can't identify the expenses you need to cut to free up cash and actually reduce that debt.
Section 2. The High Earner Illusion.
Now, you might be thinking, this only happens to people with low incomes, right? But let's look at a case study of a high-earning professional who felt completely broke despite cutting out all her luxuries. She genuinely believed she had cut out every single possible luxury. We're talking no cable, no dining out, and yet she still couldn't keep up with her bills. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where her amnesia was hiding, right there in her housing costs. When she calculated what percentage of her monthly take-home pay was going toward her mortgage, her perceived estimate was a nice, comfortable 30%. But as the expert ceiling shows, 36% is the absolute maximum recommended for housing. So in her mind, she was comfortably below that ceiling. She thought her expenses were super low, and she had no debt besides the mortgage. So why on earth was she struggling so much?
Well, here is the reality check. Here is the missing math that her financial amnesia was covering up. After a little more probing, the undeniable truth finally came to light. See, she had lost a part-time income that she'd originally used to help qualify for the mortgage in the first place. And because she lost that secondary income, a much bigger chunk of her primary income was actually going toward her housing payment. But psychologically, she just wanted to cling to the belief that she could still afford that home anyway. She was naively believing her own completely outdated narrative.
Once that financial amnesia finally cleared up, she really had to face the facts to fix the deficit. She was looking at 3 hard but incredibly necessary choices. She either needed to find another part-time job to replace that lost income, take in a roommate to split the housing costs, or pack up and move to a more affordable place. It wasn't about skipping a few coffees, It was a fundamental structural issue in her finances that she was just completely ignoring.
Section 3. 5 Common Money Lies.
Let's move on and see how this builds into our own lives. Because look, it is incredibly easy to spot other people's miscalculations, like our high earner, but it's way harder to spot our own self-deceptions. So right now, we are going to hold up a mirror to ourselves by looking at a rapid-fire checklist. I want you to ask yourself, do you recognize yourself in any of these? Number 1, I have a budget. Number 2, I have an emergency fund. 3, I manage my spending better with a credit card. 4, I don't dine out a lot. And the absolute classic, number 5, I don't understand why I'm always broke. So which specific flavor of denial is yours? Let's unpack them one by one.
Let's kick things off with lie number 1, I have a budget. The harsh reality here is that keeping a mental tally of your spending in your head, it's usually just not enough. Mental math is incredibly prone to financial amnesia. You only gain true control over your money if you actually track your expenditures. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you use a physical notebook, a spreadsheet on your laptop, or a slick budgeting app on your phone. But if it's not written down somewhere, it's a fib.
Moving right along to line number 2, which is rooted in what we call the emergency fund fallacy. This is when people will absolutely swear up and down that they have a rainy day fund, but in reality, they rate it so regularly for everyday things that it practically just becomes another checking account. Buying concert tickets or upgrading your phone is not an emergency, folks. Yet we totally lean into the absurdity of draining our safety nets for non-emergencies just because, well, the money is sitting right there.
Now, line number 3 is a big one. I manage my spending better with a credit card. People love to tell themselves that those monthly statements show exactly where their money goes. But the reality? Using plastic actually reduces the psychological friction of parting with cash. The data shows that credit cards account for a massive percentage of consumer transactions, making it easier than ever to overspend. You just tap or swipe and boom, the transaction is totally painless. You literally don't feel that immediate pinch of handing over physical $20 bills, which makes it far, far too easy to let your spending spiral completely out of control. Line number 4 actually takes us right back to where we started this explainer. I don't dine out a lot. This is typically just not true. Statistics show the average household actually spends thousands of dollars annually on food away from home. Let that sink in. Thousands. When people actually sit down and review their bank records, they are almost universally shocked at how much they actually spend dining out, picking up takeout on the way home, and grabbing those quick coffees.
And that brings us to lie number 5. This is perhaps the most common financial fib of them all. I don't understand why I'm always broke. Listen, if you genuinely reflect on your spending habits, you'd quickly find the exact reason your budget isn't balancing. The reality is that people completely overlook how those small, frequent purchases add up over a month. But more importantly, it almost always comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding of needs versus wants. You got to be totally honest with yourself here. You've probably classified way too many wants as actual needs. And this distorted view of your finances, it completely prevents you from seeing what should or even could be cut from your budget.
Section 4. The ultimate reality check.
So the crucial point is this. It is time to stop fooling yourself. If you are tired of wondering where your money went, it's time for a practical, undeniable solution. I want to introduce you to a highly effective strategy we call the highlighter method. It's super simple. Here's how it works step by step. First, you need to collect your actual bank statements from the past 6 months. And I mean 6 months, not just last month, because you need to see the real trends. Second, grab some different colored highlighters and mark your spending categories visually. Use pink for restaurants, yellow for shopping, green for entertainment, the whole shebang. Visually color-coding your habits exposes the undeniable truth of your spending, right there on a piece of paper in front of you. And third, you have to be radically honest about where your money is going. Once you see that massive sea of pink highlighters showing how much you actually spend on takeout, well, then you can finally start making fundamental changes.
Which leaves us with this final, powerful thought. You are entirely capable of handling the truth about your finances, but you simply cannot fix what you refuse to face. The data's there, waiting in your bank statements, completely immune to the stories you try to tell yourself. So I have to ask, are you ready to grab a highlighter? Will you finally face it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly, highly encourage you to go print out those statements today. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll see you next time.